I read so many books a week, I'm telling you. And so there are 4 books now, though, that have been doing that. They've helped me become less restless. And so I am so happy to share them with you because each of them has given me a way of noticing how I've been operating in someone else's framework without even noticing it. The first book is Crafted Kinship: Inside the Creative Practice of Contemporary Black Caribbean Makers. And this is by Melanie Barnett. So there are these 60 artists in this book that are not waiting for the American art world to validate them. What they are doing is they're practicing their art and they're building their own systems. And I realized that I've been measuring my podcast against American media standards. But what if those weren't even my standards? What if, like these Caribbean makers, I'm building something that really doesn't need validation to matter? So that question really stopped me in my tracks. It really did. So the second book that I want to talk to you about is a book called The Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Let's talk about that voice in your head that says, I should have done more. That's going to be the gap. And I think that I, like many others, have been living in this gap. Living in the gap takes away your agency. You're measuring yourself against some external ideal that keeps moving further away the closer you get to it. So if you're thinking about, I should have done more by now, well, why not try it this way? Try looking backwards from where you started to where you are now. That's going to be your gain. And your gain is going to be probably bigger than you think. Next, I'm so happy to talk to you about this book. This book is called Decolonizing Language and Other Revolutionary Ideas by Guji wa Tiongo. So this book I read while I was in college at Wellesley College. This book, y'all, it does not give you answers. It will give you a whole lot more questions than you think you had. But what is beautiful about it is how it helps me understand and appreciate the fact that this is all really messy and that we should take time to question the frameworks in which we are working, because sometimes the frameworks might not be working for us. So the next book I want to talk with you is All the Women Are White, All the Blacks Are Men, But Some of Us Are Brave. Now this book has been edited by Akasha Gloria Hall and Patricia Bell Smith and Barbara Smith. This book came out in 1982. And while I was not living in the US at that time, this book, I think it's more important than ever. Michelle Wallace in her essay says that there's basically little hope for a Black feminist movement. Maybe some minimal hope for a multicultural one, but mostly this is an individual fight, right? Because when you think about what we're doing as artists, in my case, I'm building a podcast for artists of color, but I'm also deeply shaped by my experiences as a Haitian and as with all of the different backgrounds that I have. And these backgrounds aren't things that you can peel apart. They're so woven tight, right? You know, sometimes that feels like it's a fool's errand. But these 4 books, as I mentioned, they didn't give me answers, but they sure pointed out a lot of permission. Maybe you don't have to wait for permission. Maybe you don't have to fit in. Maybe you can measure backwards. Maybe you can recognize your own gain and you can keep building.